What's up, everybody? This is Connor and Joshua with Chamber One Tactical. Today's video is going to be centered around the newest lineup that Kimber has for their 1911. So this is the newest next gen 1911. That's the new name they've come out with for their new lineup. So this video is going to be about the changes that they've made, the updates, kind of making this 1911 a more modern 1911, hence the name Next Gen. We'll go over what we liked about it, what we didn't, and how it performed. So let's get into it. All right, so typically you guys see us and hear us talk about the price point for the first thing we start off with. We don't 100% know what the price point is on this gun yet. We would assume, based off of what Kimber has sold their custom 1911s for in the past, to be around $800 to $1,000, depending on what you get, what version you get. What we have in front of us today is the optics ready version, and it is two-tone, and you guys can clearly see that it is a very good looking gun. The grips they did on here are just fantastic looking. It is definitely a Kimber. Kimber does a really good job making some very good looking handguns, and this definitely lives up to the name. So what we're going to do real quick is run through what you get. Obviously this is the box that it would come in, with I think a sticker. And then
inside the box is the bag.
Yeah, and they actually do. This is what I like about Kimber, is they give you a range bag, which I like.
With
boxes,
multiple compartments.
Yeah, I mean, boxes don't really do much. The carrying cases that you typically get from different companies. Definitely like the fabric bags that Kimber gives you. So you get your pockets. This first pocket's where the gun's going to come. The next one has different slots for your magazines. And you do get two magazines, so you get one with the extended base plate on here, which actually works very well. You guys have seen it before. That extended base plate makes sure that you seat the mag very well.
Doesn't hold any extra rounds though.
Right, it just gives you a little extra, since, you know, the flush fitting mag is definitely a flush fitting mag. So definitely like that they give you that option to have the extended base plate or not. And then in the very front, this is something Kimber has listened to everybody, and I like that. So you get your RMR optic plate. Which is something that we in the past did not receive, and people have not gotten from, and this is actually C&H precision plate, which as you guys know, they make very good stuff. So you get a sticker and, you know, your gun lock, but you know, you're getting a little bit more than what we've seen in the past from Kimber, going ahead and getting that optic plate, which is what we like to see. The one thing, you know, that we will talk about, obviously you guys can see the optic cover that they have for there right now. It does have the rear sight machined into it, but it is not adjustable. So kind of starting off on what you're getting, that's the one thing primarily that I would have liked to seen different. You guys know, especially with guns, the front is not fixed, so technically you could adjust your front sight. But I like having an adjustable rear sight, especially on a 1911, because not everybody is going to put an optic on this gun. Some people are just going to want to shoot it traditionally.
Especially 1911 guys.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even like optics. They think,
I'm kidding.
They think flashlights and optics are bad.
That's why it doesn't have a rail either.
But that's really the one thing that I didn't like. Now they did, you know, mill some lines in there to keep from glare messing up your sight picture. But I would have liked to have seen an adjustable rear sight. That's the one thing that
I would have liked to see with the sight setup is a fiber optic front sight.
You're
so
right.
this is just a painted red front sight.
Yes.
Not terrible. I mean, it's fine. But like today we were shooting in the shade.
Yes.
And I know that it kind of uses the sun. Fiber optic uses the sunlight, but even still, it lights up brighter than this is.
Right.
So I would have liked to see a fiber optic front sight. But,
yeah, and,
you know.
And not to hate on them at all, but of all colors, green, orange, yellow, something a little brighter would have been a little nice.
I think of the colors, that bright red was
dark.
fine.
It's a little dark to me, but
I thought it was fine.
It was definitely a little harder to see in the shade, like Joshua was saying. We were shooting in the shade, and that may be more of what we're, because we always wear sunglasses when we're shooting, because most of the time it's bright. So if you were just wearing, clear glasses, then you may not have an issue at all.
Yeah.
But moving on to what I think is a good thing too, the top of the slide.
Yeah.
So instead of having that original rounded slide, they went ahead and flattened out the top and then milled some lines in there again to reduce the glare from the sun on your sights. So little things like that I definitely like. I really like the look of the gun too, having that little 45-degree cut on each side. It definitely helps with you able to wrap around the gun and get to those slide serrations.
Absolutely.
And I actually think the slide serrations, they look very minimal, but which is kind of what you want on a 1911.
Right.
You don't want to change the design too much because people are buying this because it's a 1911. But the serrations actually worked very well. I didn't have any issue missing the serrations, especially when that hammers down. Never had any issues being able to rack the gun from the front. And the rear serrations worked just fine for me too. So, the serrations where they're minimal and they're not, crazy looking like some other guns we've seen, they work just fine. And that's really all that matters is how do they operate. So I like that. Keep it simple and make sure they work.
Right. So I really like the look of that grip.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks really, really good. But when we first picked it up, me and Connor were concerned. We're like, it's really smooth on the wooden part.
Almost
and then, of
polished.
Course, yeah, and it's got texture here. It's not super aggressive, but it does have texture right here.
Yep.
So we were concerned that maybe the grip was going to be a little bit too slippery. But I can say, especially with this one being 9mm and not 45, which, they will have 45, obviously. Right. Especially with the 9mm, it wasn't an issue.
No.
And so I was kind of worried about nothing. 1911s, they shoot so soft, especially in 9mm.
Yep.
45 ACP, you might run into a little bit of an issue, but I still think that this is adequate right here on the sides. But the checkering right here was a little bit lacking. So I would have preferred a little bit more aggressive right here because ultimately, again, with the 9mm wasn't an issue, but I could see that being an issue with the 45 ACP is maybe just a little bit more recoil, and that's what's going to help you drive it down is having a little bit more aggressive of a texture.
Yeah, the front strap and back strap definitely were on the more moderate side of texturing, and that's kind of what me and Joshua were talking about is, this gun is not going to be as much to me a performance-driven gun. It's something you're going to go out and you're just going to plink with, and you're going to enjoy shooting it. You're going to enjoy how good it looks, in your hand and show off to your buddies. But the texturing was a little soft. But again, like Joshua said, when we were shooting it, I didn't have any issues holding on to the gun.
That's true.
Didn't really have any issues at all with the. I never thought to myself, "Oh, the texture's not enough."
It doesn't move around in your hands.
Right. You may think to yourself when you're feeling it, oh, that's going to be a little soft. But while shooting it, it never came to my attention that, oh, this isn't enough texture. So, and again, got to mention again, these grips are awesome.
Yeah, they look
I think
great.
they look great. This gun in general just is a good-looking gun.
Yep.
And then they did a really good job, too, on the hammer, giving you some really good aggressive serrations on the hammer itself. So, cocking that hammer back, you never worry about your finger slipping off. I mean, it's really good texturing there. And then moving on to one of the best things about the gun is the trigger.
Yep.
I don't think there's really ever been too many guns that you can say Kimber has sent out that has a bad trigger.
Well, 1911s generally.
Their 1911s just have a great trigger, and this is definitely one of them. I would assume you're sitting around 3 to 3.5 pounds. That's when we first got it, so it could have broke in a little bit since we started shooting it.
The slides definitely broke in.
It's very smooth.
Getting a lot smoother as we shoot it.
Yeah, and the trigger, it has that really, really good take up. So you have a minimal amount of take up, and then you have your brake, and it really barely moves at all. And then your reset is immediate.
Yeah.
And it pushes your finger out. So everything that we like about a trigger and everything that you 1911 guys always talk about why you love a 1911 is the trigger. And this trigger is a very good shooting trigger. So
absolutely,
definitely like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the trigger. I mean, obviously, it's a 1911. That's why people like 1911s. Is it's hammer fired. The trigger's just amazing.
Yep.
And they did a good job.
And it definitely, you can see in some of the shooting footage, we were able to shoot this gun very fast and very accurately. And because, part of that because of the trigger.
Another thing too that we thought before we shot it was the balance felt a little off.
Yeah.
But after shooting it, I think the balance was almost perfect. I mean, it wasn't bouncy by any means.
No.
It was. It just returned to target very well.
And you know, I know y'all are gonna say, "Well, it's a 9mm 1911. It should," but I can tell you right now, like comparing this to, like, say which you probably shouldn't compare it, but comparing this to like your Prodigy, a lot of the smooth, flat features that you get from shooting like a Springfield Prodigy, that real just smooth action, again, almost like a hydraulic feel, just real smooth.
You mean my Springfield Staccato?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the same good qualities that a good 2011 has, I felt a lot of those qualities in this 1911. You know, it, like we talked about, you feel that it's a little nose heavy, but all that goes in to make a very flat shooting 1911. And like you said, it's not a bouncy feel at all. And it actually helps with that sight picture returning every time.
Absolutely.
So they definitely put some thought and, you know, engineering into figuring out how to make this gun shoot as flat as possible, but still be, you know, reliable, because you still got to have that reliability because it's a 1911. And everybody knows a 9mm 1911 is one of those guns that has some hiccups sometimes. And we really didn't have that with this gun. We had really no issues at all shooting this gun, and that's one of those things we wanted to check is, would it close if you had the slide lock back and you put in a fully loaded mag? Is it going to close and lock up properly? And it did. You know, is it going to transitioning from mag loads? Is it going to just using the slide stop, slide release? Is it going to lock? We never really had any issues with it. So that's something that we were happy to see out of a new product, for one, and, you know, out of a 9mm 1911, because people do have some issues every once in a while with those. So
I will say, and I think you would agree, there is one major flaw with this gun, and it's still single stack. You only get 9 rounds. It's just so fun to shoot. You wish it was double stack. No, I mean, we like 1911s, we like 2011s, double stack 1911s, whatever you want to call them. But it is nice to go back to the original 1911, such a classic feel, such a classic look. I mean, I really enjoyed it. But sometimes you do wish you just had a little bit more rounds in the magazine. Because it holds, with this 9mm, 9 in the mag, and then, of course, you could have 1 in the chamber. So you could have 10, but still not enough.
So, I mean, Joshua, do you think the changes that they've made to the gun, you know, kind of modernizing the 1911, do you think they did a good job, and do you think it's worth the money to go pick one up?
Absolutely. I mean, you know me, I like 1911s. I really like the flat top.
I do too.
That's something that really impressed me. The grips, I really like the grips. The trigger, and ultimately it wouldn't have mattered if it had a horrible trigger, because you know I love a good trigger, and the trigger performs. So I think it's definitely worth it. I love it.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of
just give me a fiber optic front sight, and I think that would have fixed the issue for me. I really like having a fiber optic with because I'm not going to carry that gun. It's not going to be a bedside gun for me. It's going to be a plinker and something to look at every time I open my safe. See that beautiful gun right there? And I would have liked to have a fiber optic.
I think one of the things they did really well on this gun is they somewhat modern, you know, modern to me mean a lot of squared off edges. You know, a lot of companies are making things really sharp edges and stuff. They did a good job of sharpening the lines up, not making everything so rounded, but there's no sharp edges on it. They kind of blocked it off a little bit, but there's no like
trying to make it like a Glock.
No. But they just there's no, and that's part of why you buy Kimber is these are more custom guns. You know, they're going to make sure they go and deburr things. There's no hard, rough edges on here anywhere. It's just a well-made gun. And I think it's 100% worth, you know, again, we don't know exactly what they're going to be asking for them, but, you know, if it's around the $800 to $1,000, it's definitely worth that for this gun to have a good shooting 1911 that's an 9mm or 45. So, you know, depending on what kind of caliber. We have so much 9mm ammo. That's why we always kind of go with 9mm handguns. So, but if you guys have any questions about this gun, just let us know down in the comment section. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.